All right, so it's kind of, excuse me, it's kind of late in the afternoon. I had sorry, I had what's it called? I had the fire pit going. So now you can see my eye is red. I've been rubbing it. Allergies are kicking up, and then the smoke and everything. So it doesn't help me that I did that. But anyhow, that's not really what this video is about. I know you guys don't really care. Probably do, but that's not what this video is about. Someone in this Ask HershNoeie, someone had asked a very good question, and they said, "Hi HershNoeie, I have a question, or several questions actually. I want to know what your thoughts are on all of the unrest and the issues that are going on in America today. I feel so trapped at times. I want to be able to just scream. I'm a young lady, and I don't really know what to do, because if you turn on the TV, you watch the news, or you read in the newspaper, there's always so much stuff going on. Any words of wisdom? I know this is a lot to ask. I know that you don't have all the answers, but what are your thoughts? It's a horrible time that we're living in." That's a good question. And I don't have all the answers. I don't think I have. I don't think I have any answer. You know, it's easy for people to say, turn off the news, don't watch it. But I don't think that that's going to help you at all. I think that you should definitely get some distance from it, because I think too much social media, too much news, all you're going to see is a lot of negative, negative, negative. I mean, the news, something that I've learned about YouTube is, and someone said, your channel should be bigger. And I said, I wish it were. If it's not, that's okay. And I said, we're not really over-sexualized on our channel, and we're not very controversial, I don't guess. I don't know. So I said, typically that gets a lot of subscribers. Not for everybody. There are some that didn't have to do that and they got there. But like a lot of times you see channels that balloon up, and it's because of certain things like that, right? Or their content's just amazing, right? My content's not all that good, but maybe their content's just amazing, right? There's many different factors, but typically sensationalism drives people, and the news is no different. The more they can, I've read a topic, a heading of a story, and then when you read the story, it doesn't even touch on what they're talking about, like what the topic was about. I mean, it's kind of in the same ballpark, but it's not addressing any of the things that the topic was about. For example, this does talk about it, but I'm looking at the newspaper and it says, "If summer wanes, Tacoma bars and restaurants spill into the street." But if you read that, and it shows a picture of a guy that I kind of know of, who is sitting at one of the outdoor areas that they're using for bar space because of all the social distancing. And so this story talks about that. So that's a correctly worded and titled article, and it talks about that. But when it doesn't talk about anything at all, it's just a sensational gotcha topic, it drives people bonkers, right? So I think that when you look at the news, it is just like YouTube. Because if you can make a very sensational topic, or if you have a sensational subject matter, then people will gravitate to it. Doesn't matter how bad or good it is in terms of just for their own mental health, people will watch it. That's just humans are just curious. That's just what we do. I would say definitely limit the amount of news. There was a time during the whole start of the sickness, several times actually, that I've stopped watching certain things. I was looking at the counter and see how many people had it and where they had it and all this. And after a while, there's so much information that's really not something that I should just be consuming all this at once. And a lot of people are taking a break from social media because of all the stuff that's going on right now. It doesn't mean that they don't care. It's just that for their own health, you have to take a break. But what I think that people, in terms of your overall question, The reason why there's so much stuff going on right now in terms of what's going on in Wisconsin, all of what's going on in Wisconsin, is because there's change happening. And, you know, when you look all around the country, people say, but no, this has been going on for a long time in terms of, you know, the police and people that look like me. Yeah, that's true, it has. But you haven't seen things change the way that they have been. Now, whether a person agrees or disagrees, we don't care. But, and that's not what this topic's about. But when you see monuments being changed, names being changed, when you see a lot of different things happening, companies readjusting, doing things differently, that's a change. Keep in mind the population keeps shifting and changing in terms of demographics. That bothers people. Some people, not all. And even those that it doesn't bother, it's still, everything has an equal flux, I guess, if you will, right? I think that I really do believe that. Even people who really and truly those things may not bother them in terms of the shifting dynamics and all of that, in terms of demographics, it still changes the reality of things. It changes their lives. And when you're seeing all of this change, this is what you get. Now, that doesn't mean that change is nice or pleasant, because if that was the case, we'd be changing stuff every single second of the day if we could. But change takes a massive adjustment. And when there is drastic change, there's stuff like this that happens. Believe it or not, the country is not worse now than it was back in the 60s. Back in the 60s was rough. Like, it was rough. Like, if you hear stories from my mama and other people, like, it was rough. Not just in terms of, like, you know, racism and stuff. I'm just saying in general, like, people were just rough. Like, some of the stuff that people tell you, like, that happened, that had nothing to do with anything other than just whatever. Like, it was different, right? But when you look at how things then, what people had to do in order to have change happen, there were a lot of people who didn't make it. And there was change that happened. Life was different. That is the reason why you're seeing what you're seeing. A lot of the nasty, negative, rough stuff and the comments that people make, you see it in social media, is because they're fighting against something that they don't want to see happen, or because of fear. A lot of people are afraid. I'm not making excuses. But you have a lot of people, and I've seen people that I even went to high school with. I'm not friends with them on social media, but I've seen them comment on other things, and people are like, really? Why are you saying this type of stuff? But it's because this is a changing reality. It doesn't matter who you put in the White House. There's a changing reality that people can't stop. No matter what they say, what they do, it's changing things. And so it makes people uncomfortable. So people will say things that are nasty, mean, rude, do things that are horrible to each other, because people act out. They don't know how to cope with that. That's human history. And I would say for you, the best thing to do, and this is what I do, is I don't go down the rabbit hole of certain topics, certain conversations. People will ask me, and I don't go down that rabbit hole, or people will engage with certain things on Facebook, and I don't go down the rabbit hole, only because your health is very important. And by not engaging in those types of discussions, and some people do, some people, they love it, but you got to keep in mind there are some people who are not happy with themselves, and they've seen how they've let they pissed their life away, and maybe they didn't do it on purpose. There are people I know who did not take their life seriously early on and did whatever they wanted to do, and they're not happy with their life. And so even though they're not happy with their life, and it was their fault, instead of trying to improve and make things better and look at it as a lesson learned, they turn that into hate, and it's not necessarily even a race thing. They just turn that into animosity towards anybody and everybody. Everybody equally catches the wrath. And there's one person in particular I'm thinking about right now, and I'm describing that person. Now, I haven't talked to this person since high school, so they may have drastically changed in ways that were different, and they may be a bit bigoted. I know a few people. One person who I was good friends with is a bigot. People change. People grow up. The cool little boy that, cool little white boy that I knew grows up to be a white man. And I grew up to be a black man. And most of the white dudes I grew up with, we traveled the similar paths. Maybe there were certain things they did differently, but similar, the way that we always were. We just got older. There's others who took a drastic change. And they're not at all what they were. Now, of course, everybody changes from school, obviously. But I'm just saying, just the way that they view and see people is not the same as what they once were. And it's sad. It's sad. Because some of those people I know, and I'm reflecting on the person I'm thinking in particular, was funny. He was the funniest guy. But it's just sad as to where he is today. I'm not saying he's not success. I mean, he's doing all right in life, I guess. I mean, his career seems to be a decent career, a decent trade. But it's just sad. You see what I'm saying? People will always have a preoccupation with something. And it is in many different forms, many different fashions, and you may not understand it. But I would say the best thing for you is to not engage in it. Really, the biggest thing that you can do, and I don't know much about you, ma'am, is to improve yourself. I've said this over and over and over again. I don't care who it is. I've said, advice I would give to young black men, advice I would give to young black women, but advice I would give to anybody is to improve you. Improve you. That may mean go to trade school. That may mean go to college. That may mean to start a business. That may mean, if you're religious, get closer to that. That may mean eating better, working out. Do something. During this time frame, it's hard because you can't really go places. In some areas you can't. But really focus on learning a new language. Think of what's going to happen after everything's done. After this sickness is, whatever happens to it, and we're able to just move on. Have a plan. You know what I mean? Like, focus on what you can change, and that's you. And do things in the community to help the community. Support the community. Volunteer, do things. Push your elected leaders to make changes that need to be made. Because that's where it comes down to. At the end of the day, it's leadership that really and truly can help make a difference. And that only happens when the community gets involved and says, look, we demand that you do something. We demand it. But I would not personally get bogged down in the weeds of things and just let things like social media and the news and all of that stuff just constantly swirl around, because it will drive you insane. It will make you depressed. It's about self-preservation. And the only thing I can tell you in terms of what I do is find hobbies. Because there's certain things I can't do because I can't, it involves mingling with people, so I can't really do it. Like I had intended on going to Haiti this year. There's a lot of stuff I want to do, and I can't do it. You know what I mean? Like, everything I'm doing has to be done online, and trying to chat and link up with people. It's hard to do because there's a time difference and there's a language barrier. There's all these different issues, versus if I'm there in person, I can just get it done basically in an hour, 2 hours. It's taken me months. It's harder. But because I have all these other things that I'm doing, the one thing that I focus on, that I started focusing on, that I need to get back to, is exercising and having a hobby. The garden has been the best thing for me, and doing landscaping. Those are things, and updating the house. I've just put a lot of energy into it. Now, I could put more and stay off social media a lot more, but that is going to be probably your best bet, right? That's going to be what's going to probably help you in the long run, and not get, a lot of people take breaks, but that's going to be, or they just kind of disengage. I've seen a lot of people post a lot of funny stuff, and every now and again I do that. And there was a time just a few weeks ago that I said, hey, I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole, but I find myself down the rabbit hole. See what I'm saying? It's easy to get caught up. And I think that if you literally just take a pause and focus on the things that you find inspiration in, that's a better deal. I found a lot of things on YouTube that I've been watching, just constantly, just cool stuff that I've been watching, because it helps take your mind away from things. So that would be my advice to you. Disengage with some of the things you see on TV and the internet, and focus on what can improve you. Make sure you join the Discord. Tell me what you guys think. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, I will see you. Take care.